About trawling is that wasn't the question I was going to ask, but let's stick with this. Is the government doing anything about revamping the trawling industry? You talked about 19. We used to have over 200. So is the government planning on helping to rebuild the trawling industry?
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing quite a lot on that. First is to identify what the problem is. And a big part of the problem is that we have illegal fishing on our territorial waters. And sometimes that actually does get violent. We lose a number of people because of these attacks on our territorial waters. We're working very closely with the Nigerian Navy with a lot more monitoring platforms to allow them to do the surveillance. In fact, as we're speaking, 8 illegal trawlers were arrested just over a week ago, based on an order that I gave that they should do that. Then secondly is that we have also recognized that these trawlers need to have common services. For example, you take a look at our fishing terminals. Where we started here, I mean, the fishing terminals, we have 3 of them. We have one in Igbokoda that we have. We have the Ebugu one, and we also have the Kirikiri Light Terminal 1 and 2. Well, a lot of these terminals were leased off or concessioned away at ridiculously low prices. Second is that they've been taken away by farm tanks, so people are using them to, store petroleum products and so on. Goodness, what do you have to do storing petroleum products in a fishing terminal? That's because we abandoned the fishing industry. And so we are taking those things back. Mr. President has said that we have to revive our fishing industry and create a lot of jobs. And so that we are actually doing. And finally, most importantly for us in the trawling industry, is for us to get financing behind them. So it's all part of our effort to revive the fish sector in the country. And I've said that we've done a lot on crops. And I've said this year, my eagle eyes are going to be, watching over the fish industry.
Okay. Let's look at the issue of the waters. The waters, most of the waters are polluted. I mean, polluted so that the fish that comes out of it's sometimes not healthy enough for consumption. What are we doing to clean up the waters?
Well, you cannot generalize that way because I tell you that a lot more of the fish that's actually brought into the country and kept under very bad conditions, no good cold room conditions, and sold to, consumers that are not suspecting enough. Actually, a lot of them are not wholesome, And going from here, I'm going to be visiting a number of these cold rooms to figure out exactly what the situation is. But when it comes to the issue of pollution, in some parts of the country, yes, we do have some environmental pollution, and part of the issue of spillage of oil and things like that does affect the waters and therefore the environment for the fish. And so I think a lot of efforts have to go, for example, in the deep South, in cleaning up some of those environmental degradation. Absolutely, yes. But even beyond that, you look at our inland waterways, for example, we're dredging them, and Mr. President has set up a committee to look into our inland waterways, and my colleague Minister of Transport is working very hard on that particular issue. But we want to make sure as we dredge these areas and get a lot more in our inland waterways, that the breeding environment for the fish is actually not destroyed.
Okay, let me take you to one point which you mentioned about the trawlers. The association actually spoke of, they say that about 6 months ago, where the Minister of Transport concluded plans to concession the Kirikiri Terminal 1. And they say ever since then, it's been on paper, nothing's happened.
Well, the issue is that we're working on that. The Kirikiri Light Terminal 1 and 2 were actually dedicated fishery terminals by President Obasanjo at the time. And as I said, because of negligence and lack of focus on how to produce fish locally and support your own trawling industry, obviously nature abhors a vacuum. And so some folks went in there and took them over for farm tanks. Even in the one we have in Ondo State, it's taken over by the Navy. And I've said, no, that's not the job of the Navy. That's our own terminal. And so there is a committee right now that's chaired by Mr. Vice President. We're looking at the various issues for the draft bills for Nigerian Ports Authority, our commission, the one that will replace it. And one of the issues we're looking at is being sure that Kirikiri Light Terminal 1 and 2 is going to go back to fishery. And all those fishing terminals that we have that have been moribund, we are going to revamp them. We're going to get real serious about the business of fish. As I said, you can have a green revolution in rice, in cassava, in maize and all that. But there's another thing which the world is focusing on. That's the blue revolution, what you get in the sea, water, protein, resources you get. And so the days of abandoning the fishing industry is over. And Mr. President has given me a clear directive on that. And he's from, South, he's from the fishing community. So you can expect that I work very hard on this.
You talk about that.
The issue of storage. Now, when you encourage the local farmers to go into fish production, they will produce this fish, but they might not have enough market, so to speak. They might not. What about storage? Before we end up having the same issue we're having with those that were importing fish.
Yeah.
So how are we working on that?
Well, we're doing it about three levels. First is that we have a center in Ilorin called National Center for Agricultural Mechanization. And they've developed quite a whole range of equipment, smoking cleans that allows you to smoke your fish and therefore you preserve it. And that allows you to be able to, whether you're doing it for home consumption or for the market or exports, then you can process and dry your fish and smoke it, which really helps. Secondly is a lot of the women that do the fish marketing. As I said, a lot of these unscrupulous importers, with some connivance somewhere, they believe that their job is to drive our folks out of business. We're going to give them a run for their money on this particular issue because those women are the ones that actually spend a lot of money sending their kids to school. So we want to support those women that are marketing fish to have access to better cold room facilities so that they are not dependent on these importers. You see, you cannot be an importer at the same time be a retailer. Essentially, you turn our people into economic slaves. I remember when I called a meeting for the fish industry, the president of the Nigerian Fish Marketers Association, this is a fantastic Alaja from here in Lagos. She said, Honorable Minister, thank you very, very much for what you're doing because you are just delivering us from slavery. And that's what it means. Folks can't invest in storage facilities, so they depend on you. But you're the one selling them bad fish. You're the one selling them, undercutting them. We're not going to let that happen. And finally, on the issue of storage, it's also the issue of market price information. Sometimes, if you just know who wants to buy how much fish, at what time, as soon as the fish comes out, you can deliver it to them. So part of it is also developing fish market information system. Fish is perishable, and you got to be able to, sell it quickly. And when you don't have that information, it becomes a problem.
So is the government going to build cold rooms?
Oh yeah, no, we're not going to build cold rooms.
We're
going to get financing to those folks to be able to build the cold rooms.
So it'll be private sector driven?
Or everything in agriculture in Nigeria is private sector driven today.
Okay.
I mean, government is out of it. The role of government is simple. As far as I'm concerned, government role is to develop good policies, good regulations, good incentives,
So
and
when
public goods, that's it.
When those terminals are returned back,
Yeah.
who's going to run them? You're going to concession them again?
Or they're going to be concession to private sector.
Again?
Well, it's not even a matter of again. Right now, a number of the people that are there are illegal, right? And so the people that are going to get a concession to will be the private sector agents that can manage a fishing terminal.
And you're sure they will not be like a new set of slave masters for those?
No way, because a fishing terminal provides common services. And right now, it's actually being managed by some private sector people. But I just want to make sure the people that are doing it are in the business of supporting the fish trawlers, not other people. And so those folks that are going to be doing it, yes, will be very thoroughly selected. They will have to support common services for those trawlers.
Are we doing something about piracy?
Yes, absolutely. Piracy is a challenge everywhere. But I think when you see dwindling fish stocks in other parts of the world, others migrate to where you have abundant fish stock. Yeah. And that's what happens. People migrate here. They take off all of our shrimps and everything else and take it, shellfish in particular, they take it. And some of them use even fishing nets that are it just scrapes everything at the bottom of the fish, your tortoise, everything. It just takes everything away. And so I think that piracy needs to stop. As I said in the beginning, the Nigerian Navy and us are working on a common platform with the Federal Department of Fisheries to be able to address this issue. Interpol is involved on that. We've been talking to Interpol to track some of the illegal vessels that are there. We are very tough that anybody that is using nets or trawling equipments that are not allowed by law will be arrested and properly sanctioned. So, as I said, we're going to clean up the fishy business there.
In order to enforce this 25%, should we be worried about smuggling?
Well, I don't think the issue right now for us at all in fish is smuggling.
Okay.
I think the issue is people bringing a lot of fish that they don't declare already. And it comes in, right, with, some connivance somewhere. And I think that's what we are going to actually monitor a lot of. As I said, we're going to actually, I've already directed in the ministry, by the way, that all our coal rooms across the country have to be totally inventorized. I want to know how much fish is there. I want to know who is bringing them in and when they brought them in. I want to know how much allocation is being given to every fish importer in this country so we can regulate it better. And we need to know the duration in which you keep your fish within your coal rooms. And therefore, the safety of the consumer is very, very important. So what I'm saying is that government is going back, not just to support production of fish, but to regulate that sector in a way that we can have healthy, affordable fish for our people while encouraging our own domestic production.